Star Wars 7x7 episode 2231. There's a myth about Star Wars stories that has come to light thanks to a book about myths in Star Wars, actually, as it turns out. And it's the notion that all of our narrators are, in fact, reliable. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So, I got to thinking about reliable narrators. We've been talking about it a little bit here and there because the subject came up recently with the Dr. Aphra audio drama, but it comes up again when we talk about Dark Legends. That's the new book of Star Wars fables from George Mann. Been described as a book of spooky stories and ghost tales that would have kept Luke and Leia up at night when they were kids, right? And it follows on the heels of the previous year's Myths and Fables by George Mann. You can sort of think of that one as a light side fairy tale book and Dark Legends as a dark side fairy tale book, if you will, although there was that dark wraith story in Myths and Fables, so it wasn't all peaches and cream with the fairy tales that happen in that book. But yesterday we were talking about the fact that with these two particular books, you can't take them literally, even though there's definitely a desire to look at them and try to figure out where they fit into canon, if there is actually a factual story that lies somewhere behind the fairy tale, and if so, how do you fit it into the full Star Wars canon timeline? This book, Dark Legends, along with Myths and Fables, along with the Legends of Luke Skywalker, are three books that are very much not ones on which you can hang a canon hat readily, which makes the stories in them unreliable. I'm not saying that they're not entertaining, quite the opposite, but I am saying that they are something upon which you can't quite hang your, canon continuity hat. And the same goes for the Dr. Aphra audio drama to some degree, because she tells different stories about her origin story, if you will, about when she was with her mother and when her mother died, when pirate raiders showed up, and that sort of thing, where she tells multiple stories. Then I was thinking, okay, well, is there anything else like that? Because that's definitely a different kind of unreliable narration from the stories like Myths and Fables and Dark Legends and the Legends of Luke Skywalker. Yeah. So the only other thing I could think of from a storytelling standpoint that was similar to the Aphra situation is the novel Pirate's Price by Lou Anders that features Hondo Ohnaka prominently. Now, Aphra has appeared in a number of comics, in the Darth Vader series, in the Star Wars flagship series, and in her own comics. Hondo Ohnaka has also appeared in multiple other outlets, in the Clone Wars, in Star Wars Rebels, right? So there's definitely a history where those characters have been in other media, and whatever they might have been doing or whatever they might have been saying about themselves or their antics is up for debate. But I guess I would draw a line between, say, Dr. Aphra in the audio drama and Hondo Ohnaka in Pirate's Price, because they are the main characters of their stories, and so they are our narrators that we have to decide to trust or not to trust, as opposed to when they appear in other people's stories, like when they're appearing in Anakin and Obi-Wan's story in the Clone Wars, or the crew of the Ghost in the Rebel stories, or when Aphra is appearing in Vader's stories, right? Then they are not necessarily narrators, they are just unreliable scoundrels. But that got me realizing that the notion of an unreliable narrator has been with Star Wars from the absolute very beginning of Star Wars storytelling. Before we do, I just want to pause and give a quick shout out to our friends at Audible, who are offering a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial if you sign up for free for that trial at sw7x7.com/audible. If you decide to stay with the service and you start paying their $14.95 a month, they give us a little bit of a commission on that, so that way we can help keep the lights on and the microphones recording and all that good stuff. I'm surprised, actually, that there's not an audiobook for Dark Legends. I was a little disappointed by that, but there are a lot of other great Star Wars audiobooks to check out. Or heck, doesn't have to be Star Wars, you know? I'm sure you have other interests beyond the galaxy far, far away. Anyway, one more time, sw7x7.com/audible, and thank you very much for considering checking out their free 30-day trial and free audiobook download. So, the unreliable narrator as a crucial element from the very beginning of Star Wars starts with none other than Obi-Wan Kenobi. And whereas I talked about how, say, when Afra appears in other people's stories or Hondo Ohnaka appears in other people's stories, if they're talking about their own exploits or their own experiences and lying about them to make themselves come across differently, well, you know, that's one thing. But if they're actually lying about somebody else, well, that for me kind of moves closer to the unreliable narrator scenario. And Obi-Wan, of course, lies his face off. Yeah, true from a certain point of view. Sure, he lies his face off about Anakin Skywalker and about his relationship to Luke. He doesn't get called on it until 2 movies later, 4 years in universe. So it does kind of make you wonder how many other, from a certain point of view, things or just outright lies Ben might have told Luke in order to steer him in the right direction, steer him in the direction of his destiny. Or, you know, just to make himself look better. I mean, as it is, you know, part of the reason why he didn't tell Luke was because he was embarrassed about the fact that he thought he could train Anakin as well as Yoda and that he was wrong and was admitting his failure to Luke in Return of the Jedi. So, yeah, just because a Star Wars story is presenting as the gospel truth doesn't necessarily mean that that's actually the case, and that has been the case from the very beginning. So there you go. That's where we're going to leave things for the show today. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2020 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.